multiple times a game, but it's a little contact, a little carry. Put it back down. Good pressure by Graves. Good call.
Yeah, good call on that. Leotopoulos, who had a big game against Creighton earlier this year. There's Darling with the block. Ball out of bounds. And it goes back to St. John's. This kid is something special, Dylan Darling.
A little bit too much of the double clutch. Go straight up. You know, you hang in there. You're not the biggest guy if you're Nick Graves. Sometimes you got to get that body. You only have a split second to get it off. You hang. Now Ruben Prey comes over, and you called it. Dylan Darling has been a stud. Did you see his numbers there the last 3 games? But he is their inspiration. And you could also say he's their glue. He just keeps everyone together, knows his role.
This is going to be a foul on Ruben Prey away from the ball.
Yeah, Ruben Prey doing a little bit too much. When you have a size advantage down there, instead of putting your hands behind you to hold the little guy, put your hands up. And you have to have trust in your guard to throw it to a place that only you can catch it when you have a smaller guy behind you.
Creighton going into their deep rotation. Ty Davis and Owen Freeman. It's popped away. Kick.
You're passive. Boy, it's like blood in the water. They are sharks.
Dix off the mark from 3. Rebound Leotopoulos, who's turned into a player that they've utilized more and more. Entry pass. Prey, tough catch. And it'll go out of bounds.
Nice help by Harper. He was on the ball. He saw the pass float in the air. He backed up. You don't normally see that by guys pressuring the basketball. They turn, they look, and now it's too late. That was really good help by Harper. You talked about it. He's playing catch up. We talked to Greg McDermott before the game. Harper started playing basketball as a senior in high school. Only a sophomore here.
No miscommunication. The turnover from Darling. Bounce pass and a foul. That's the second for Prey. And about a minute.
We've seen a couple times now. Now, obviously, this is a bit. And when you bop around and you go to, you go overseas and then come back to a small school, you know you still have the passion and the love. And sometimes you got to get yourself recentered. Well, tell you what, Rick Pitino and this St. John's team are squarely in the middle. They know exactly who they are because of that man. And it's where they should be. You're in the Mecca. New York is the city of gods, as they say, and they have shown that since he's been back, and especially this season, going for their 13th in a row.
Darling fouled. Actually, no, they're just going to call this out of bounds. All ball from Swartz. I look around the stands too, and I know today is a special occurrence because they're got this Johnny's Day initiative going around. Tons of red in the stands. We've seen a couple people wearing the Lou Carnesecca type sweaters, which is kind of fun to see. But they've so invigorated the fan base here, and winning does that, no doubt. But the way that they've gone about their business has really re-energized this proud fan base.
You know what you get too from them? No entitlement. I mean, it just feels like New York in this building. You know, you walk outside. I always get to the city a little bit early. I got my coffee.
Creighton, in their hopes of building on their upset over UConn on Wednesday, it's fallen flat. 21-point lead for the Johnnies.
And now just to slow the bleeding a little bit, they go to a zone 1-3-1.
Darling can't slow him down.
You know, sometimes when you talked about it earlier, having a new team, a young team, they think you get in that zone, it's a time to rest. I think you got to work even harder. Your work rate has to be higher in the zone.
Another steal from Darling, another run out for the Johnnies. Mitchell caught at the rim. That's where the real hope is for this team, is that they don't become one-dimensional come tournament time.
Look, NCAA tournament, we know it all comes down to you got to make the deep ball. You just do. There are going to be a lot of games won by making 1 or 2 threes. You got to make multiple threes. You got to have guys who can knock it down and stretch out the defenses.
Another turnover for Creighton.
And obviously St. John's has that. They have plenty of guys who can make shots, who can create shots, find their own.
Ruben Prey going to give it a go.
That 8 for him this season?
Yep.
He shot it like it was his 88.
Right. All smiles all around the Garden this afternoon. Zugic kicks it back out, and Graves is short from 3, and this poor shooting afternoon continues for the Blue Jays, especially in the second half. Just 3 for 15 from the floor.
Drill with 9.5 minutes to play is just not going to bode well for you defensively. You got to run at guys, contest a little bit.
Prey, turn to the corner, jump hook, yeah. Everything's working.
You talk about retention, you know, we don't talk enough about that with Ruben Prey hanging. Probably could have gone and found some money elsewhere. Great athlete. He's continued to evolve every season. He's another one of those retention guys that just has a lot of pride for his school. He stayed here and shown it.
Bounce pass, Dix, tough look. Nothing's come easy. Some of it self-inflicted. Darling out of control. It's been going on 50+ days if they close this out since they've last lost a game. The 3rd longest active winning streak in the nation. And even in a down year for the conference, putting the nation on notice. Freeman left it short. I think we also talked about, Donnie, how these games are of incredible importance, given where their resume is at and given what seeding they're trying to get to at the tournament to avoid a tough first round.
Patino before the game is that nothing outside of the locker room really matters, and that's hard to come by in this city. It really is. You know, you're in Queens. You were the most talked about team. Look, everywhere you look, they're New York's team. And these young men have really figured out a way to continue to win and keep the noise out, stay together. Look, they're not done. They haven't really done much. And Coach Patino will tell you that, but going on a win streak, there's a lot more that they have to accomplish. But going pretty well right now for the Johnnies.
31 points. Just trimmed to 29, but that's their largest lead in a Big East game this season. That's saying something with Creighton coming off that victory over UConn and not letting that carry over here. St. John's have handled their business.
Yeah, it's hard not to kind of compare and contrast. You know, we live in a culture of comparisons, and when you look at the 2 top teams in the Big East, you start to think, wait, Creighton beat UConn at home, and now they come in and play this way against St. John's. I don't know if there's anything to read into that, but to me, it does say a lot. I'm not sure what. It's something that the UConn fans probably don't want to hear or acknowledge, but boy, and every game's different. We know that. These are 2 totally different teams, St. John's and UConn. And totally 2 different teams that we've seen the last 2 games from Creighton.
Right. 15th turnover. St. John's has been active from the get-go defensively. Hopkins unable to finish through the contact as Prey skips it off the rim. Clutch, even though the numbers haven't been eye-popping. You know, during this win streak, his numbers in the second half of games, shooting better than 50%.
Yeah,
ways to just impact the game.
Double figures in 11 of the last 13 games, though. I mean, he is really. Think about this. He's got
3 torn ACL and then a setback last season. Yeah. He went more than 6 months without stepping foot on a basketball court until about July last summer.
I thought he came back a little too soon. You know, when you have a coaching change, you know, sometimes, you know, things aren't always aligned, and you wanted to get back as a player a little quicker. Your new coach is anxious to see you out there. But he's gotten it together now. And I tell you, is such a wonderful piece. Anytime you're picked first team Big East and you really haven't completed a season the previous two, that's the respect that the league has for you and the coaches and writers have for you.
I think the question at this rate is this shot is deflected. Leotopoulos on the break leads it for Ibinayo. Getting a little bit more action off the bench in the last couple.
Ibinayo, one of those guys who's been with Rick Pitino his entire career.
Yeah.
Doesn't get a lot of love, but he is another one of those kind of Swiss Army knife guys for the Johnnies. A good move. 50's the number. That's
right.
the lowest point output for Blue Jays this season.